The problem of sex trafficking in India is of grave concern and of great magnitude. While it is very important to understand that it's just not the problem of India, and more than 170 countries across the world, including Spain and Catalonia, have this problem. But India, because of its population and the size of the country, we are the second largest population in the world. The number of women and children sold into sex trafficking is very high. Practically more than 3 million women and children are sold for prostitution, and every 10 minutes a woman or child is sold for sex trade. And what is very, very concerning is the fact that 45% of them are children. The problem happens in India for various reasons, including socio-cultural reasons, economic reasons, reasons due to patriarchy, but also because of the growing penetration of technology. Technology also has added to accelerate the problem in a big way. One of the most important things society globally has to, first of all, break the silence on this issue, which essentially means that you need to become aware of this issue, educate yourself of this issue, and break the silence around this issue. Breaking the silence is not about hiding the problem under the carpet. It is about opening up and understanding that each one of us across the globe, whether it is in India or in Catalonia, have this problem. And we need to see the problem in our city, in our town, in our province. Somewhere we are all part of the problem. In our silence, in our inaction, in our complacence, we become part of the problem. And that is one thing that we need to start doing, is finding and understanding how the problem of sex trafficking is supported and perpetuated by our ignorance and our silence, and start breaking that silence. Society at large should also have the compassion and empathy to accept back the victim and to give her the enabling space to recover and create a space for her so that she can come back to the society as a normal, dignified person. Across the world, most of the governments, in principle, acknowledge the problem, but in practice don't do enough to address the problem. And that is why it is important for the governments across the world to, first of all, become zero tolerant about this problem. You cannot tolerate this problem as a government. You have to say absolute no. No woman, no child should be sold into prostitution. That is the position that the government has to take, which means that you're fighting against the mafia, which means that the government has to take a position and say that we are willing to fight the mafia. We are willing to fight the criminal syndicate and create legislations, implement legislations, set up protective mechanisms for victims, ensure that is implemented. Whether it is your child or it is a girl from Nigeria, every human being matters, and that is what the governments should do. It cannot be that because she's coming from a foreign country, it is not your problem. It is your problem too. And all the governments should acknowledge that we together can change this issue. It is also important for the civil society organizations and associations to come forward and be supportive to the victim. While the government can make legislation, can make the system function against the crime, there is a person who's a victim who's left over of the crime, who requires all our support. And that is where associations and NGOs and civil society organizations come into picture. It is our collective role to provide a space where the victim can come back in a non-threatening space. She's given all the facilities, all the support mechanism to regain back herself. And that is what associations should be doing. I think there are three things, because I believe that any change starts from self. And if we don't bring change within our own families, nothing can change. And maybe the first thing that we need to do is to bring up our sons properly. And ensuring that we indoctrinate our sons to believe that a girl's body is not a sex object to be bought and sold. If we can educate our sons the right way, giving them the right kind of understanding of masculinity, maybe we will prevent the demand part of the problem. We also need to talk to our own children about pornography. The demand for pornography and pornography has generated a whole world of forced prostitution. People across the world consume porn and generate the demand for prostitution and generate the demand for sex trafficking. If that change can be brought within our own families. Most importantly, I think, if we can become better parents, if we can become better human beings, that would be the first response that we can make to end the problem. But apart from that, I also believe that if we can reach out and open our hearts to victims and provide them support in whatever way we can. It could be a job, it could be our skills, it could be the way we can provide our time and create a priority for them in our lives. That also is the next step forward. But if we cannot bring change in our own hearts, if we cannot bring change in our own lives, if we cannot bring change in our own families, there cannot be a world that will change.